Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Coach. It's a new year. It's 2022. Are you going to do the same stuff as last year? Or will you get creative, inspired, and really up your game for 2022? In this video, I plan to give you some ideas that will help you get a leg up as you create an outstanding plan for worship and activity in your church in 2022. I'm Steve Petty, and I have 3 goals for these videos: to help you become a better pastor and leader, to save you time and money, to help educate, energize, and motivate you to energize and motivate your church. Now, I know 2021 was a difficult year. In fact, 2020 was a difficult year. We've had a couple of them. But this is 2022. It's a brand new year. So today I want to talk about how we're going to be leading our churches in 2022. We'll look at each individual month, talk about the major events happening that month. I'll give you some ideas for preaching on some of those major themes, some names you might want to look up. So let's get with it. What are we going to do with 2022? The first question is, do you meet in person? Do you meet online? We did that way back in 2020, and it looks like we might need to do it again. I know your people don't want to do that. I know you don't want to do that. But it's a matter of safety. Hopefully, this winds through us really quickly, and we can get out of it before the end of February. That would be great. But whatever you do, explain it to your people. Explain it wisely, compassionately, and be a leader. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. And let them know this is what your church is going to do because this is what you've decided is the best thing for the church and its people. As we get into January of 2022, the major holiday is Martin Luther King weekend, which will come on January 16th in terms of Sunday. I still think the Black Lives Matter movement is huge in this country, and you need to address it. February, Black History Month, kind of follows right along, doesn't it? There are 4 Sundays to highlight Black issues, and you may have your sermon series already worked out in other ways, but in the midst of Black History Month, I encourage you to think about using examples of African Americans who have made a difference. Possible examples include Mary McLeod Bethune, Count Basie, Lena Horne, or Hank Aaron. March, Women's History Month. Again, we have 4 Sundays. Again, you may have your sermon series worked out, but there are women in our midst who have made a difference in the world, and you can find those women on the internet. You can Google it. But let me give you 4 you may not have thought about recently. Marie Curie, Frida Kahlo, Mae West. Seriously, look up her life. And Toni Morrison. Women who stood up for women, stood up for themselves, and did some incredible things that benefited all of mankind. Lent is usually a period when we recount our sins, confess. It is a dark month, and then we get to Easter, and it's all about resurrection. But we've been dark for a long time. This whole pandemic thing has really knocked people down. I think I'd spend Lent preaching about resurrection. What are the things that raise people up? What are the things that raise people to new heights and raise us as a people, as a church, as a nation? So think about that. How do you want to preach about resurrection in Lent? And then we get to Holy Week. Hopefully we're back in churches by then. Hopefully we've got something really stunning to invite people back to church for. Think about it now. Plan for it. Maybe you have plan A and plan B, in person, online. But plan your services now so that they're exciting and wonderful and people want to stay engaged with them. May, we get into another Heritage Month, Asian Pacific Heritage Month. And I think we haven't done much with this in the past. But with all of the Asian hate that's going on in our country, we really need to do something this year. So I think it's a very important time to lift up our Asian brothers and sisters. Some possibilities of Asian Pacific people that we might want to celebrate include Daniel Inouye, Steve Chen, I.M. Pei, Amanda Nguyen, and Tammy Duckworth. And then, of course, don't forget Mother's Day and Memorial Day weekend. With all of the super patriotism going on, celebrating Memorial Day in a church in a really proper manner, I think is going to be important this year. June, Pentecost. I know a lot of churches don't do anything with Pentecost. You don't have to do much, but I've done a lot of things over the years. One year, we made balloons for everybody when they walked in, red balloons. Often, we tell people, it's Pentecost Sunday, wear red. If you remind people early enough, you can get a whole congregation wearing red on Sunday morning. It's kind of exciting. Then you've got Father's Day, Graduation Sunday. Make sure that you celebrate fathers just as well as you celebrate mothers. And all of those graduates, they are in fact rising. Celebrate them. July 4th is Monday this year, but it's going to be a whole weekend. What are you going to preach on July 4th? How are you going to celebrate our country and its independence in the midst of all the political stuff that's going on? Celebrate it in a way that celebrates all sides, that raises up all people, and talks about what a great nation we are, not about what great parties we are. And stay away from the negativism. I know it's easy, depending on your political bent, to be negative about the other side. Don't do that. It's July 4th. All people get to celebrate. All people get to set off fireworks. Be positive. July and August, summer preaching. Oh my gosh. Summer preaching in the midst of pandemic has been really, really hard because we know people aren't coming. A lot of people still don't feel safe coming to church. Even if you're worshiping with masks, it's been difficult. Plan now. Think about a great summer sermon series. As I mentioned before, I like to preach about history, but pick a subject that's going to be entertaining and fun. Maybe movie clips, maybe plays, maybe have the choir do a different number from a Broadway play. Pick something that's going to be fun and that's going to enlighten people and enliven your worship and make summer really, really special highlight this year. September, we get them back to school and church. And on the 15th, oddly, in the middle of the month, we get to Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanics have made a huge difference in our country. Much of this country was part of Spain. So Hispanic Heritage is a cool thing. Talk about it. For Hispanic Heritage Month, I'll give you 5. Some you'll have to think about. Some you might have to research. Obviously, Cesar Chavez, Rita Moreno, Linda Ronstadt, Roberto Clemente, and Ted Williams. Look it up. You'll be surprised. October, World Communion. I made World Communion really, really big and special. I did something with it. I brought out flags. We brought out breads of the world. We had a variety of different things. We had people talk about their nationalities and their backgrounds. Everybody comes from someplace. Celebrate the world and that the world is all created by God. Worldwide communion is a big Sunday. Make it big. Don't just breeze through it and have communion and move on. Make worldwide communion an opportunity to talk about how we love the whole world because God and Jesus do. We do too. And then, of course, we get into October 10th, which is Indigenous Peoples Day. Well, some parts of the world still call it Columbus Day, but we need to talk about Columbus and the indigenous people, and we need to be sensitive to those needs. It kind of moves us straight into Thanksgiving. But then we have Halloween at the end of October, and November is American Indian Heritage Month. Maybe it's time to get out your old copy of Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee and remind ourselves how much our Native American people have suffered in this country. And you might even talk to some people who are working on reservations now. It is a difficult time. The reservations have suffered more than the Anglo populations during this pandemic. Possible Native American people to celebrate would include Tecumseh, Sacagawea, Jim Thorpe, Chief Joseph, and Maria Tallchief. Election Day is November 8th. It's just going to be a big day. We need to be prepared to talk about kindness and cooperation and free elections. And we need to be able to talk about that. People will have opinions, but in the midst of it, you need to be holding up the ideals without judgment, without being negative, without castigating one side or the other. Hold up the ideals that are American democracy and freedom. Don't get caught up in the caustic, bipartisan rancor that is going on now. Stay positive. Stay patriotic in a positive way. At the end of November, we get to Thanksgiving. Again, a time to celebrate all of our American heritage, but celebrate how much, especially in that time, the Pilgrims survived, largely because the Indians took care of them. Then immediately we jump into November 27th, which is Advent 1, the earliest possible date for Advent, because Christmas is a Sunday. So how do we pull this off? How do you do all 4 Sundays of Advent? And how do you do Christmas Day? You need to plan now for what Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are going to look like so that they don't look like an afterthought. Christmas Sunday, the 25th, is not an afterthought. It is a big Sunday for a lot of people, and you need to make it a big Sunday in your church. Don't just say, well, we had Christmas Eve. Y'all come in your pajamas on Christmas Day. I think that works, but there's a lot better way to make it work. Make it big. Make it exciting. Make sure the choir still comes, if you have a choir, if we're singing in church, which brings us back to where big we can. It's the pandemic. All of this requires a lot of creativity in the midst of these difficult times to keep every Sunday and every month exciting. So work at it. Plan for it. Plan now for the whole year and get your team of leaders and worship leaders online with you. They will love it that they're doing long-range planning on a 12-month calendar. Well, that's it for today. We'll be moving into the new year and doing some new things and talking about some new things. If you have comments you'd like to share with me, if you have ideas about things you'd like me to cover, please go down there to the comments and add them. Or just simply email me at steve@revstevep.com. I'd love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can click the little bell down there, and when I post new videos, you'll know about it. And also, look, because in the new year, my plan is to start a podcast. So look for the podcast coming, and then you don't have to look at my ugly face. You could just listen on your voice recorders, on your phones, maybe even in your car, wherever you want to listen to me. It's easier to take me with you in a podcast than it is on the YouTube channel. That's it for Coffee with Coach.